Dolphins are genuinely intelligent. That is not the debate. They cooperate, they remember faces, they have been documented protecting humans in open water. All of it is real, and none of it is being challenged here. The part that is wrong is the conclusion most people quietly attach to all of that. The idea that intelligence, in dolphins, implies something like decency. It does not, and the gap between those two things is larger than almost anyone expects. What the science actually shows is that the same cognitive traits that make dolphins feel relatable, long memory, individual recognition, coordinated social behavior, are precisely what makes their aggression look different from anything we associate with animals. Not random, not instinctive, applied, and that changes what the friendly dolphin was ever telling us about them. Off the coasts of Scotland and Virginia, researchers started finding harbor porpoise carcasses. Small animals, rarely more than 60 or 70 centimeters long, about the length of your arm from shoulder to fingertip. The injuries were not from nets or boat strikes. Internal examination showed rib fractures, organ damage, hemorrhaging consistent with repeated high-force impacts from a blunt object. The object turned out to be bottlenose dolphin rostrums, the elongated beak-like snout. The dolphins had been ramming them, repeatedly, and then leaving. No porpoises were eaten. None of this was feeding behavior. Several explanations have been proposed: practice for infanticide, competitive exclusion, displacement aggression, but as of now, no single explanation has been confirmed as the primary driver. What is confirmed is that it happens, it is sustained, and it is not random. Dolphins have also been documented harassing and killing sharks, including species significantly larger than themselves, again without any predatory context. The animal doing this is not acting from hunger. What makes this coherent, rather than just strange, is understanding how bottlenose dolphin societies actually work. Their groups are not stable herds. Composition shifts constantly as individuals move in and out of associations. Inside those shifting groups, alliances form and dissolve based on competitive interest. Male bottlenose dolphins organize into coalition networks, sometimes layered across 2 or 3 tiers, to compete for access to females. These are not loose associations. They are coordinated. The males use herding, harassment, and physical coercion to control where females can go and who they interact with. Female dolphins in the presence of allied male coalitions have been observed under sustained aggression over periods of hours, sometimes days. This is not a conflict that flares and resolves. It is strategic. Rank in these societies directly correlates with access to food, mates, and relative safety. The animals at the bottom carry the cost. That cost is visible on their bodies. Studies of wild Atlantic bottlenose dolphins found that a significant proportion of adults, in some populations the majority, carry toothrake scars from conspecific aggression. Run your eyes across a wild dolphin population, and what you are seeing is not the exception. You are seeing the baseline. Violent encounters include biting, raking, ramming, and tail slapping. Sexual coercion is documented across multiple wild populations. Males using physical force and coordinated herding to restrict female movement and compel mating. This has been filmed. It has been described in peer-reviewed literature. Aggression in dolphin societies is not a rare deviation from a peaceful norm. It is structurally embedded in how these societies function. If you have found this useful so far, subscribing takes about 2 seconds, and it means you will not miss what comes next. What comes next is infanticide. Male bottlenose dolphins have been documented killing calves, including calves of their own species, in incidents observed in Scotland, the United States, and elsewhere. The pattern was described in detail beginning in the 1990s. The confirmed mechanism is reproductive. Females whose calves die return to estrus faster, making them sexually available sooner. This gives male dolphins a direct reproductive incentive to kill calves that are not theirs. Calves of other cetacean species, including common dolphins, have also been found with injuries consistent with bottlenose attacks, though separating intentional interspecies predation from incidental mortality in those cases remains genuinely difficult. Worth noting, this behavior was initially resisted by researchers and conservationists before the accumulating evidence forced acknowledgement. The cultural weight of the friendly dolphin image was heavy enough to slow scientific consensus on something that was being observed in the field. Which brings us to the part that actually matters. The traits that make dolphins feel relatable to us: long memory, social learning, individual recognition, apparent emotional responsiveness, are the same traits that make their aggression look different from what we expect from animals. A fish strikes from instinct. A dolphin remembers who harmed it. It recognizes individuals. It tracks outcomes across time. It forms and breaks alliances based on what happened before. What this means is that dolphin violence is not instinct misfiring. It is applied. It is contextual. It can be sustained. When a coalition of male dolphins spends 2 days herding a female, that is not reflexive behavior. It is coordinated, remembered, and directed. The discomfort most people feel when they learn this is not really about the violence itself. It is that the violence looks intentional. That is because it is. The intuition that intelligence implies some form of restraint is a projection, a specifically human moral framework that biology has no obligation to follow. Cognitive capacity is a tool. It serves whatever drives the animal. In dolphins, those drives include dominance, reproduction, and competitive exclusion, the same as in nearly every other complex social species on Earth. Dolphins are not a contradiction of nature. They are a high-resolution version of it. Their intelligence did not lift them above the pressures that shape all social animals. It gave those pressures more precise expression. The friendly dolphin was never a lie. It was just a cropped image. Both things are true at the same time, and that is genuinely harder to hold than either one alone. What lingers, after all of this, is not the violence. It is the realization that the traits we found most human in them, the memory, the relationships, the apparent intention, were never evidence of gentleness. We were reading ourselves into something that was always something else entirely. Thanks for watching. If this was worth your time, a like helps more than you might think, and the video on screen right now is where to go next. If this was worth your time, a like helps more than you might think, and the video on screen right now is where to go next.